Hello, my name is Lily and I am a full-time potter. Well, technically I'm a part-time potter because I spend a lot of my time in here, but it's definitely not Monday to Friday. I spend the other half, maybe it's a third of my time making videos, doing things like writing books, teaching workshops, other things that are income bringers, but they're not making pottery. And today I want to talk about the challenges and the delights of being a part-time ceramicist and doing something else part-time. For the past maybe 7 years, I've been doing ceramics full-time, and I had a bit of a stint in there where it was about 18 months where I was working part-time in a marketing job. And I left that in April, so I kind of very recently know the ups and the downs of being a part-time maker and a part-time worker. They have some quite unique challenges that I want to talk about today. Like everybody, I would like to do this full-time, and I would love to not have to think about selling stuff and making money. I would love just to kind of do the work and that be the practice itself. But we live under capitalism and it's cost of living crisis. So, we've all got to do things that make money in other ways. Obviously it is possible to do this full time and make money, but for me, I found that that was leading to burnout, and I want to protect myself from that because I love what I do and I want to keep doing it for a really long time. But I also got to pay the bills, it's really important. Today we're going to talk about some tips and some strategies to managing being a part-time maker and a part-time something else. Okay, let's talk about the challenges. I don't think I need to talk about the pluses because we're all doing this because we love it, right? I think that's the ultimate plus. But a lot of the minuses are, they are quite tough. They're quite big challenges. So first of all, we've got time management. That's hard. That's real hard. It can be super difficult to manage your time in the studio and the time that you have to work at your job, as well as other things in your life, like if you have family or home responsibilities or care responsibilities or hobbies that you deeply care about and you have to do. Also making sure you have days off as well, because I think a lot of the time as part-time makers and part-time something else's, having a day off feels like a luxury, and it really shouldn't. A day off is incredibly important, but sometimes you can feel guilty. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Working out how to kind of factor all of this stuff into an amount of time that doesn't always feel infinite can be really difficult. Second challenge is energy. You've just come home from work, it's been a big day at the office, and you've come into the studio and you're like, damn, I'm exhausted. How am I possibly going to make an order for a shop? I don't know the answer. It's really hard. But managing your energy in your two roles, it's really important. Stress and financial management. Taking on responsibilities at your job or saying yes to opportunities that come your way for your pottery business or your creative business. Keeping afloat with bills and deadlines and all these other priorities that are incredibly important is very stressful. So working out a way to manage that stress and the kind of financial burdens of all of this is very, very important. Earlier this year, as I've mentioned, I was working part-time and I was writing a book and I was making YouTube videos and I was taking commissions, and everything felt incredibly exhausting and equally as important as each other. And I felt just completely exhausted and burnt out and frazzled. And it unfortunately took away the love of all of the things that I was doing. And all of the things that I was doing, I do deeply love and enjoy, but I truly wasn't able to do all of them with my whole heart, with everything that I had, because I just simply didn't have the energy. And that was really difficult as somebody who is a very high achiever and someone who wants to do things really well. I found that kind of period where it was very, very intense awful. I hated it. I have since quit my job, and I kind of view making YouTube videos and my making practice as separate things now. So I do still feel as though I have a foot in the part-time boat, if that makes sense. But I do feel as though I am managing everything a lot better now. Speaking of organization, running a business and being only accountable to yourself can be very tough. And I want to share how I have upskilled in this area because it has been a constant struggle for me in my life. I was really happy to find loads of amazing classes on this very topic on Skillshare, the sponsor of today's video. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts across film, illustration, design, productivity, which is where I'm focusing on, and many, many more. Skillshare can help you take your career, your skills, your hobbies, your passions, your side hustles, and take them to the next level. This summer, it's been a goal of mine to really focus on organization and productivity in my business. There are tons of classes that Skillshare has bundled together from how to use all sorts of softwares like Notion or Airtable or my very favorite pen and paper. I've been loving this class by Dylan Mezwinski, all about how she utilizes bullet journaling to deal with her life management. The class is fun, kind, lighthearted, and it's incredibly helpful and useful. I've been journaling for a long time, and using Dylan's class has really helped me taking this hot mess of a journal and turning it into something a lot more readable and actually useful in my day-to-day life. If you too want to level up your life management and your organizational skills, or you have another creative skill that you want to focus on, you can do that with Skillshare. Check out the link in the description below to find out how Skillshare can make that happen for you too. The first 500 people to use this link in the description will receive a free month trial of Skillshare. So get out there and make it happen. Thanks, Skillshare. Okay, back to it. So they're kind of the challenges, right? But what are some strategies to get through it? So first of all is time management. This is low-key coming from the mouth of a hypocrite, okay? I'm not great at managing time, and it's something that I'm not proud of, but it's something that I really struggle with. However, when I do spend time working out what I'm doing of a week, it makes everything so much better. If I sit down and work out all of the things that I have to do and all of the things that I want to do, and I put them into some lists, then I'm unstoppable. I can get so much done when I just know what I'm doing. When I don't do that, and I have to admit, like, it's actually quite often that I don't do that, I will kind of feel frazzled and stressed. I'll start late every day because I don't know what I'm doing of a day. I'll get stressed by like Wednesday or Thursday and try and slam heaps of stuff into one day, and then feel stressed for the rest of the week because I can't possibly finish all of the stuff that I've started, and then it kind of puts me off onto a bad foot for the next week. I will stay up until 2 a.m. editing a video because I haven't managed my time properly. And it sucks. It's a bad trait about me, but I'm working on it. One thing that I've learned very recently is how important it is to prioritize prioritizing. You need to work out where you need to be, especially when you're working as well as you having a pottery or whatever creative business you have. You need to be somewhere at a certain time, and so all of the other time that you have, you need to work out where you need to be, what you're going to be doing, what tasks are very important, what ones can wait or kind of be pushed to next week. It's actually not even that hard to do, but for some reason I struggle with it. But it's so important to just kind of sit down and work out all of your time so that you can kind of see it and you can visualize it, and then you can just act on it. You know, you don't need to think after you've done that. And through prioritizing, it means that you can create a schedule. So you can sit down and say, right, where am I this week? Where am I for the month? What do I want to do in the studio? What things can I get done? And you can just create literally a daily or a weekly schedule, and you can write it all down and work out where you need to be. I maybe would suggest starting with monthly and then weekly and then breaking it down into day by day. But you need to allocate all the tasks that you want to do and put them into that schedule. And then you can just go. You can just work to that. And from doing that, then it means that you can kind of prioritize the hours that you have to be at your work, and then the hours that you can be doing your creative business, hours that you can spend in your personal life, and days off. Don't forget days off. Now that you have time set aside for your studio work, I really highly recommend batch working. Wedge all of your clay all at once and then throw all of your pieces, and then kind of work out when you can trim all of those pieces. You may need to work out a time that you can come in and wrap all your pieces up. Work out when you're going to attach handles or attach spouts or whatever it is, to make sure that all of your tasks are done, but kind of really efficiently. When you do a task all at once, for example, if you're glazing, you get your glaze bucket out, you stir all your glaze up, you get your sieve, you get all of the bits ready. If you're glazing 2 pieces, then that's not super efficient. You know, you're not maximizing productivity there. But if you have, say, 10 or 20 things to glaze, then it's become a glaze day. And now you're kind of only doing part of that job one time rather than the time it takes to stir up all your glaze and blah, blah, blah for each piece, if that makes sense. It's important to kind of work out where you can save time and be efficient in your workflow. For me, I know that I'm more efficient and more focused in the morning time. So I do jobs that require a bit of mental lifting, I suppose, in the morning when I am able to do those jobs. And in the afternoon, I just kind of do stuff that I can just kind of potter away, for lack of a better term, that I can just kind of mooch around and get done, you know, just ticking things off the list rather than having to really use my brain to think about it. Your energy and your creative management are very important when it comes to being a part-time maker and part-time worker. You've got to set some boundaries. That might mean when you're at work, you're at work. You think about work, you don't think about pottery at all. And then when you're in your pottery job, in your pottery space, don't answer emails from work. Don't think about whatever like deliverables you are expected to do tomorrow. You're not there, you're in your creative space. And that means that you can avoid burning out because you've separated those 2 things and you're not letting them bleed into each other and kind of make each other worse. When you're in your studio, that's kind of your personal time, and you've obviously dedicated it to being a potter or being a whatever artist or creative person that you are. But that means that that's your personal time. And if you're not being paid to be there from your job, then you shouldn't be thinking about your job. They're not paying you, you're paying you. You know, you're taking a hit here by investing in yourself. And like maybe you're being reimbursed by yourself or maybe you're not, but you're not from your job. So don't think about work while you're here, if you can. I know it's very hard, but try as hard as you can to set a boundary and kind of set that in stone so that it can separate the 2 entities in your life. And that leads in, my friends, to self-care, which sounds a little woo-woo. And I suppose like pottery maybe for a lot of people is self-care, but I'm kind of talking about like the gross parts of self-care, like making sure you get enough sleep, making sure you're eating properly, making sure you're exercising and stretching and staying limber, making sure you take days off. All of this stuff is very important to ensuring that you actually have enough energy to be at work and to be in your pottery studio. I keep saying pottery studio, just apply it to whatever kind of niche you're in, but for me it's pottery. You should allow yourself creative breaks if you need to. If you are feeling really overwhelmed at work, then possibly when you come into the studio, you're not going to have that much creative energy, and that's fine. You can just allow yourself to play, and maybe it doesn't kind of lead to anything. It might not lead to a sale, or it might not lead to some success somewhere else, but you can just kind of treat it as time for you to explore something and to play with something and to heal yourself, you know, from the exhaustion of your job. It's fine. You can enjoy that, and it doesn't have to lead to anything else. But you'll probably find by doing that, by carving out that time to be creative and to play and to like have no expectation of it, you kind of will unblock yourself, you know, and then you'll be ready to make something that you're really excited and passionate about. When I was working part-time and doing these videos and doing the book and doing commissions, I obviously was knackered. I was completely wrecked. And I still get really wrecked after a full day of being in here. It's really exhausting work. And like during that time though, when I was just working so much, I obviously wasn't like allowing myself to enjoy my other hobbies, like the sports that I like to do, and like going to the gym and seeing friends for a drink or whatever. Like all of that stuff it was still there, but it was way more minimized, and it meant that I was kind of stressed while I was doing them rather than actually enjoying them for the reasons that I do them, for the love of them. Obviously I wasn't looking after my entire self, which meant that everything else was suffering for it. Now I have obviously taken one of those things off my plate. I am not at that job anymore. I'm still doing other stuff part-time, but it means that I have a lot more time to look after myself and kind of my mental well-being, which means that everything else is way better. Because I have a little bit more time on my hands as well, it means that I'm able to stay organized a lot better. So for me, I am a real pen and paper kind of girl. I love my diary. I love making a million lists of all of the things that I need to get done. And when I put something onto a list, it becomes real. And then it becomes something tangible that I am going to get done, and it always gets done because of the list. It's amazing. It's a superpower in my life, is just to write a list. And for you, it might not be a list. It might be some like online tool, or it could be some software, or it could be, I don't know, whatever it is. Work out like the best thing for you to stay organized in terms of staying on task and staying kind of on top of all of the things that are like floating around your head. Work out a way to organize that and stay on top of it. Then in the physical realm, I find that working in a tidy space really helps me. Tidy space, tidy mind, you know? I sometimes do work in complete mess, and that is usually when I'm like working on a production order, or I'm like halfway through a task, but I might go home and I've left everything out because I'm still gonna work on it tomorrow. However, when I'm finished with a job in that way, I will tidy up and I'll get the studio back to zero, so that when I come in for like Monday or whatever, I'm not starting on the back foot, you know? I'm starting on a front foot, because I don't need to clean up last week's mess. I just get to get started at the start, and that makes a massive difference. There's really nothing worse than starting your day off in a chaotic workspace, so make sure that you factor in cleaning time into your making time. Okay, financial management. This one I don't like to talk about. It really bores me. It's my least favorite part of running a business, but it's really important, obviously. For me, I keep separate finances from any employed work that I do and Mae Ceramics. I am a sole trader, so technically it doesn't actually matter. It can be all in the same pot. I just pay tax on any income that I have brought in and take off any outgoings from that, and that's how much tax I have to pay. It just makes it so much easier for me if I have all of my Mae Ceramics income and outgoings in one account. Means that I can just stay on top of it. I use a like online accounting software to reconcile my accounts and to like keep track of my invoices and receipts and things like that. I don't use it for anything major, but it does help me with my tax return at the end of the year, and it helps me to know, like, you know, roughly how much money is coming in and going out. In terms of budgeting, for me, like I've just said, like I do make income from ceramics. It means that I can spend it on anything that I need in the studio. And then I pay myself drawings every month as well. I don't pay myself a lot. I pay myself a significant pay cut since when I left my job, but it's enough for me to know like what my monthly overheads are. And then from that, it means that I can buy extra stuff if I need to, or I can save up for next month or for, you know, something else along the line. If you're being paid by your job and you're not necessarily making that much money from your creative business, you need to allocate a little bit of that money to your creative business. Just make sure you kind of keep a good track of it and you understand how much it's actually costing to run, and kind of make sure that either you're okay with that or you can recoup some of those costs in some way. In taking this pay cut from my job and deciding to do this full time has meant that obviously I'm not being paid to be somewhere every day and do some work, but I am investing in myself and my business and potential clients and potential opportunities, and like my YouTube channel. It's all things that I am willing to invest in to help grow. And because I have done that with an existing client base, it means that I can kind of fund that, if that makes sense. I am in a good position to have left my job, even though it is quite scary because not every month looks the same. Setting realistic goals in a creative practice is really important. So for me, a recent goal of mine was, when I was working part-time, it was to do that, but also to create one YouTube video every single week. That was real hard because I was working 3 days there. I was also taking on commissions and writing this book, as I have mentioned 100 times already. But making a YouTube video, in my brain, I'm like, yeah, it's real chill, it's easy. It isn't. It's real hard. It takes so much time. And for me to say that, yeah, I actually did achieve that goal in making a video every week, and it was consistent, and I've grown my following and I've grown a little bit of a community here. That's really important to me, and it makes me feel great, and it's encouraging me to kind of keep it going, but also to set other goals to strive towards. Goal setting can seem like one of those things that you do at school and you actually don't care at all about what the goal is or what the outcome is. It's just like something that you have to do. But having a why behind doing something is so vital. And if you don't have that why, if you don't have a goal, it means that you can very easily get yourself in a rut, especially when you're spending so much time on other parts of your life. When you have something as important to you as a creative practice, then it can just kind of feel like a slog, and it's very easy to give that up because it isn't that important, or it's like a random sideline thing that you're doing. It's so easy to like lose sight of why you're doing it. So if you write down some really concrete goals, it could be an action. It could be something like, I want to sell a piece, or it could be I want to grow my following, or it could be I want to be happier. Like, I don't know what the goal is. Make a goal and then create some actions to get to that goal and work out a way to measure it. So for me, my YouTube videos, I could say, yes, I did it, or no, I didn't. You know, it was a really concrete black and white goal. If it's something like be happier, you have to work out how to say that you've achieved that or not. So understand what that means and what your goal is, and create a path for you to get to that place. And it's fine if things change along the way, but you have to just know what your why is. It's so important. You can have short-term goals and you can have really long-term goals. For me, a long-term goal is just to be very successful in the ceramics industry. Obviously that's so hard to measure. So that's why having the short-term goals and the short-term building blocks helps you along the way. It's very important as well to stay flexible in that. There's been times where I've decided that I actually hate ceramics and I really need a break from it, and that's fine. It's okay to step back for a bit and do something else, and to like maybe pivot and do something on a different career path or trajectory or whatever it is. But as long as you kind of understand why you're doing that and it's not reactionary, in keeping with your long-term goals. I hope that makes sense. It kind of makes sense in my head. Within your kind of things that you're striving for, you have to build in a bit of a support network. For me, I am a sole trader, as I've said, and now I don't have a job. I just work for myself. That's so lonely. And sometimes I don't talk to anyone all day, and then I'll see one person at the end of the day, or like in the morning or whatever, and it's like, blah, 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 like I can't stop talking. That's fine on a like kind of a day-to-day level, but on a wider level, that's completely unsustainable for me. I get way too lonely, so I need to have a bit of a community, and I need to have people who support me and back me up when I need it. And that might mean financially. It's not necessarily what I'm talking about right now, but it could be. It could be that you want to discuss your goal with somebody who's kind of a mentor, or someone who you really respect in your life, who is like a trusted friend or family member or whatever, who is kind of willing to break down what you are wanting to do. I have lots of friends in like the pottery world. I share my studio now with somebody, and I have other people who I know who I don't know, they're maybe not my closest friends in the whole world, but they actually are incredibly important to me because they're part of my community. They're part of my like network of colleagues, if that makes sense. It's very important to have people who you know who are kind of doing a similar thing and have similar struggles to you, and you can talk about it and work out if it's just you feeling this way or if that's kind of a global feeling, and what are some things that you can do to combat those feelings that you might be having. And of course, your family and friends need to support you in your dual commitments, in your job and in your creative space and your creative business. If you're with a partner or you have friends who just genuinely don't understand what you do and they kind of poo-poo you for it and they make you feel bad, unfortunately, I think you need a better community of people who love you, because you can't do it by yourself. It might be something that you physically do by yourself, but you have to have people who believe in you, who support you, who completely think that you're going to achieve every single goal that you've ever set. It can be very, very, very difficult to just prop yourself up and no one else is there to support you. So make sure you surround yourself by loved ones who genuinely do care about what you're doing. That's kind of it, my friends. We all are doing this because of the love of it. Maybe it's for some money, I don't know what your practice is, but for ceramics it's not necessarily about the money, it's about the complete and utter undying love for clay, the obsession of it and the joy of making. You have to remember that when you're feeling real low and you're feeling really stressed out and you're feeling overworked and bummed out. The reason that we're here is for the love of it. And life is about enjoying, you know? Life isn't about working. It truly isn't. That's silly. Stay positive, be willing to learn lessons along the way, be flexible and adaptable, and make sure you have those goals set out so that you know why you're doing all of this. It's hard stuff, it's hard work, but you got it. If you guys have any other tips for staying sane, balancing a job and a creative business, please leave those tips down in the comments because I would love to hear them personally, and I'm sure that everyone else would love to hear them as well. Check out this video about my tips on things that I would change if I started my creative business now. I will see you next week for another pottery or pottery related video. Love you. Bye.